anything more exciting in wrestling than when the lights go out? Well, except for if you were at that TNA show where the fire alarms went off. That looked genuinely frightening. Total darkness is usually a sign that something big is about to happen. A debut, a return, a surprise attack, basically anything involving The Undertaker. The lights out spot is a classic for a reason. The Big Dub has been responsible for some of the greatest examples of this trick in wrestling history. So today we are shining a light on the times WWE did the exact opposite. I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are the 10 best lights out moments in WWE history. Join us. Number 10. Aleister Black is Aleister back. Tommy End, Aleister Black, Malachi Black, Mr. Zelina Vega, whatever name he has gone by, the sinister man from Amsterdam has always had a flair for the mysterious. After he lost his NXT championship to the dastardly Tommaso Ciampa, Black was scheduled to compete for the title in a triple threat, also involving Johnny Gargano. Then, right before NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 4, the former champion was found laid out in the parking lot at the hands of an anonymous assailant. Whilst Black was away, Nikki Cross was running around saying that she knew who did it. This led to an amazing interruption during a match between Cross and Bianca Belair on the October 17th, 2018 episode of NXT. Midway through the bout, the lights cut out. Somebody then put 50p in the Performance Center meter, only to find a returning Aleister Black sitting cross-legged in the middle of the ring. He then confronted Cross about who his attacker was as the match just sort of fizzled out. Oh well. Dramatic, surprising, and a key point in an intriguing story, NXT didn't do lights out moments often, but when they did, they were great. Number 9. Wyatt opens the door. Whilst most lights out moments are surprises, sometimes a predictable one can still be effective. A recent example of this went down at Extreme Rules 2022, aka the extended pre-show for Bray Wyatt's WWE comeback. The Eater of Worlds had been one of the highest profile pandemic-era budget cuts. Now, with Triple H captaining the ship and a series of cryptic clues scattered across WWE programming, fans were hoping this would be the night he returned. After Matt Riddle beat Seth Rollins in the Fight Pit main event, the lights around the arena shut off. The audience exploded with excitement as they knew exactly what was coming. A clip of Bray singing "He's Got the Whole World in His Hands" started playing as we were treated to images of Firefly Funhouse iconography. Then, out of the glowing door that had appeared on the stage, out stepped Wyatt for all the world to see. This was a phenomenally theatrical return that really got people excited to see what Bray would do next. It's just a bit of a shame that what he did next was have a rubbish match sponsored by a soft drink. Number 8. Sting saves Orton. After an age of being the last big holdout from WCW not to wrestle for WWE, Sting made an incredible debut for the company at Survivor Series 2014. Then he lost to Triple H at WrestleMania, then his first match on Raw ended in DQ. He did win a tag team match, but was injured in a match with Seth Rollins shortly thereafter, and unfortunately had to temporarily retire. Cue the Hall of Fame music. The Stinger did get a couple of decent moments in a WWE ring though, like the time he played Knight in Shining Armor for Randy Orton on an episode of Raw. The Viper was surrounded on all sides by the Authority, who looked like they were about to do him in. All of a sudden, a crow flew into the arena, squawked, and then crashed into a transformer, cutting all power to the building. In reality, this of course sounded the arrival of Sting, who popped up out of the darkness to assist Orton in kicking some bad guy butts. For a man who's made many surprise appearances over the years, this was one of the best. Number 7. A big red comeback. The February 7th, 2000 edition of Raw was home to one of the best main events in the show's history. After initially standing up to the McMahon-Helmsley regime, Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, Perry Saturn, and Dean Malenko joined forces with the baddies to add even more power to their ranks. This led to the Radicals teaming with Triple H to face The Rock, Cactus Jack, Rikishi, and Too Cool in a massive 10-man tag. After some of the loudest crowd reactions in WWE history, the Evil Fivesome put away the assorted babyfaces to seemingly end the night on a sour note. That was until it all went dark. Out from the shadows came Paul Bearer, and by his side, a returning Kane. The Demon had been missing from TV for some time after being betrayed by his former best friend X-Pac. Black. Now he was out for revenge and nobody was going to stop him. Kane went full beast mode here, dropping every heel in the ring with clinical precision. It's an absolutely classic Attitude Era ending to Raw and one of the best cases of WWE booking a disheartening finish only to send the crowd home happy. Number 6, Sabu saves the day. Of all the wrestlers who utilize the lights out tactic, poor old Sabu often gets overlooked. Though his best teleportation took place in ECW, the homicidal etc maniac did manage to pull off one great magic act in a WWE ring. Well, sort of a WWE ring. At ECW One Night Stand 2005, Rob Van Dam gave an impassioned speech to the hardcore faithful. Despite being one of the biggest stars of the original company and one of the main campaigners for the nostalgia show, RVD was injured and thus unable to compete. This didn't stop him from taking a bump though, because of course it didn't, as he was interrupted by the man-beast Rhino. After delivering a gore to the injured extremist, Rhino looked set to finish him off when everything went black. When the lights came back up, Van Dam's bitter rival turned friend Sabu was standing right there. An ECW tribute night just wouldn't have been the same without a spot like this, so thank the barbed wire gods that they managed to fit one in. Number 5, that's not Jeff Hardy. CM Punk and Jeff Hardy had what was easily one of the best rivalries of 2009. With plenty of real-life differences between the two to draw from, WWE presented a deeply personal feud that culminated in dramatic fashion at SummerSlam. In a brutal TLC match for the World Heavyweight Championship, Punk knocked Hardy off the top of a giant ladder and then plucked the big gold belt from its hook to become the new champ. He ended the night by standing over the prone body of his opponent, sneering like the smug git he was. And then he got hit in the face by a giant dong. The Undertaker's signature bell sound hit and the lights went down. The audience cheered, but when the light returned to the arena, nothing had changed. Or had it? Unbeknownst to Punk, the dead man had replaced Hardy on the mat beneath him. Then came the big sit-up, a thunderous chokeslam, and the new champ had his first contender. Had the show ended with just Punk winning, that would have been enough, but the extra surprise of a returning Taker was the ghoulish cherry on the top of this incredibly violent cake. Number 4, low watt bulbs. The Watt chant that was inspired by Stone Cold Steve Austin is a bit like the TV show The Big Bang Theory. Some might have found it funny to start with, but the more it's gone on, the more annoying it's become. Come at me, comment section. On the January 3rd, 2002 edition of SmackDown, Vince McMahon was attempting to talk to the Washington DC crowd, but they just would not stop watting him. Then McMahon remembered he was the one in charge. To get the crowd to shut up, he ordered that all the lights in the arena be cut out. The chairman was feeling pretty bloody pleased with himself. That was until Stone Cold's music started to play. The boss ordered the lights to be turned back on, but it was too late. When they came back, Austin was in the ring behind him, and guess what he did next? Did he A, give him a nice cake to eat, B, get down on one knee and propose, or C, give him the Stone Cold Stunner? Well, actually, you're all wrong, because the answer was D, get beaten up by Booker T and Big Boss Man. But at least the lights out part went well. Number 3, oh yeah. Remember when The Undertaker went through his rebellious teenager phase and started riding motorcycles and listening to rock music? It was either the best or worst part of his career, depending on how high your tolerance for Limp Bizkit is. American Badass Taker first appeared at Judgment Day 2000 and was killed off at Survivor Series 2003. Literally killed off. Kane dumped about 2 tons of dirt on top of him. That is one dead biker right there. This led to a storyline where Kane was haunted by the spirit of his sibling. Although he was adamant that Taker was dead, Kane couldn't shake the specters of his past and was forced to challenge his brother to a match at WrestleMania 20. As Kane stood in the ring waiting for his opponent, the arena predictably fell dark. What wasn't predictable though was the familiar cry of "Oh yes!" that pierced the air of Madison Square Garden. Paul Bearer returned to the screen for the first time in 4 years. His arrival heralded that of Deadman Undertaker, who promptly defeated Kane in a short but sweet match. Number 2, that's gotta be Kane. About 7 years before Mania 20, Bearer took part in another great lights out moment that was practically the inverse of what I just described. In the first ever Hell in a Cell match at Bad Blood 1997, Undertaker Undertaker was fighting his fierce rival Shawn Michaels. Just when it looked like the Phenom had the victory in sight, suddenly nobody had anything in their sight anymore. Chilling organ music started to play, and then, bathed in a spooky red hue, Bearer strode down to the ring behind a giant man in a bodysuit and mask. In the weeks leading up to Bad Blood, Bearer had been teasing the arrival of Taker's deepest, darkest secret, his brother Kane, who was left tortured and scarred after a fire at their parents' funeral home. And now, just as our old pal Percy Pringle had predicted, Kane was on the scene. The behemoth made his presence known immediately by ripping off the door to the cell and laying out his brother with a tombstone. This allowed HBK to win the match, but all anyone was actually interested in was WWE's newest monster, an all-time great debut. Number 1, an electrifying return. WWE sparked some serious interest in WrestleMania 27 by announcing that a celebrity would be acting as the event's guest host. Who could it be? Bob Barker? Justin Bieber? Barney the Dinosaur? Okay, one of those was never a rumor. I mean, there's just no way Bob Barker was gonna do WrestleMania. This question was put to bed in style on the February 14th, 2011 edition of Raw. After Justin Roberts announced that the mystery host was set to be revealed, all the lights slowly began to shut down. First the house lights, then the WrestleMania sign, and eventually the Titantron before the entire arena was bathed in darkness. And then, if you smell what The Rock is... So I'm getting carried away. For the first time in 7 long years, The Rock walked out in front of a WWE crowd and the reaction was otherworldly. People went bonkers for Big Dwayne's big return, and the fact that he was going to be at WrestleMania made this moment even more special. In fact, the only thing that would have made it cooler was if the Great One had come out with a massive flamethrower and set his own name alight. A man can dream.